Edexcel GCSE Paper 2 2020. To be the first one to watch my next video, click the subscribe button and the bell next to it to get notified. On the paper it says June, but the June exams have been cancelled. This paper has been set in November 2020. Question 1. Write 84 as a product of its prime factors. First, let's use a prime factor tree. What two numbers multiply together to make 84? One of the factor pairs is 2 and 42. 2 is a prime number, 42 is not, so we have to continue with the branches of 42. 2 and 21, then 3 and 7. The prime numbers are 2, 2, 3 and 7, so 84 can be written as 2 times 2 times 3 times 7. We can simplify this as index form, 2 squared times 3 times 7. Part B. Find the lowest common multiple of 60 and 84. We already have the prime factorizations of 84. We can do the same for 60. The prime factor tree of 60 will become 2, 30. Then 30 will become 3 times 10. 10 will become 2 times 5. The 2, 3, 2 and 5 are prime factors. So 60 is equal to 2 times 2 times 3 times 5, which is 2 squared times 3 times 5. To find the lowest common multiple, LCM, we can draw a Venn diagram. The common prime factors go in the overlap. 2 squared is common in both of them, it goes in the overlap. And 3 is also common. 7 only belongs to 84, and 5 only belongs to 60. The LCM is everything in these two overlapping regions. That is 7 times 2 squared times 3 times 5. We can type this in the calculator, which gives us 420. Question 2. The universal set contains the numbers from 1 to 10. Set A contains the even numbers. Set B contains the factors of 10 from this universal set. Complete the Venn diagram for this information. First, let's see what numbers belong to set A and set B. The even numbers are 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10. Factors of 10 are 1, 2, 5 and 10. The numbers 2 and 10 show up in all of these three sets, so we write it in the intersection region. The numbers 4, 6 and 8 belong to set A. The numbers 1 and 5 belong to set B. And the numbers not used by sets A and B are 3, 7 and 9. We write these outside. Part B. A number is chosen at random from the universal set. Find the probability that this number is in the set A intersection B. The answer is 2 out of 10, because there are exactly 2 numbers in the intersection out of the 10 total numbers. Question 3. Carlo puts tens into small boxes and into large boxes. He puts 6 tens into each small box. He puts 20 tens into each large box. Carlo puts a total of 3,000 tens into the boxes so that the ratio number of tens in small boxes to number of tens in large boxes is 2 to 3. Carlo says that less than 30% of the boxes filled with tens are large boxes. Is Carlo correct? You must show all your working. From the ratio 2 to 3, 2 plus 3 is equal to 5 parts. We split the 3,000 tens into 5 equal parts. 3,000 divided by 5 is 600 for each part, which means there are 600 tens for each part. The ratio given number of tens in small boxes to number of tens in large boxes is 2 to 3. To find the actual number of tens in the small boxes and in the large boxes, we times them by 600. 2 times 600 to 3 times 600. This is 1,200 tens to 1,800 tens. He puts 6 tens into each small box. We already worked out that there are 1,200 tens overall in all of the small boxes. If we divide this by 6, we get the number of boxes. If we divide 1,200 by 6, we get 200, the number of small tens. He puts 20 tens into each large box. There are 1,800 tens in large boxes. We divide this by 20. This is 90 large boxes. Carlo says that less than 30% are large boxes. Let's find out if he's right. There are 90 large boxes out of the total boxes, which is 200 plus 90. If we times this fraction by 100, we get the percentage of large boxes. This is 31.03%. 31% is not less than 30%. Therefore, CAH is not correct. Question 4. Complete the table of values for y equals 5 minus x cubed. Let's use our calculator. To complete this table, we replace the x values in the equation with the x values in the table. The first one will be 5 minus, bracket open, minus 2, bracket closed, to the power of 3. So, when x is minus 2, y is 13. Next, when x is 0, we have 5 minus 0 cubed, which is 5. When x is 1, we have 5 minus 1 cubed, which is 4. When x is 2, we have 5 minus 2 cubed, which is minus 3. Part B. On the grid below, draw the graph of y equals 5 minus x cubed for values of x from minus 2 to 2. The table in Part A lists the coordinate points, the x and y values for this equation. All we have to do is plot these points. The coordinate point minus 2, 13 goes here, then minus 1, 6, then 0 and 5, 1 and 4, 2 and minus 3. Then join these points with a smooth curve, making sure that the curve goes through every single point, from the first point, where x is minus 2, all the way to when x is 2. Question 5. Work out the value of x. Give your answer correct to one decimal place. When we have a right-angled triangle with angles and sides involved, we can use trigonometry, and I hope you're familiar with SOH CAH TOA. We call the side opposite to the angle selected as opposite side. We can label this with an O. The side opposite to the right angle is the longest side, the hypotenuse. We label this with a H. Then write out SOH CAH TOA. We tick off the O's for the opposite side. Then we tick off the letters H from hypotenuse. And the group that has the most ticks, so, will be the formula that we need to use. Sine theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Replacing the values, theta is 34 degrees, so sine theta is sine 34. This is equal to x over 178. To get x on its own, we times both sides by 178. X is equal to 178 times sine 34, equal to 99.536. The question is asking us to write it to one decimal place, so the final answer is 99.5 millimeters. Question 6. We have two column vectors, a and b. Find 2a minus 3b as a column vector. 2a minus 3b is equal to 2 times the column vector a, which is 3, 4, minus 3 times the column vector b, which is 5 minus 2. This is equal to 2 times everything in the first column vector, that is 2 times 3, which is 6, 2 times 4, which is 8, minus 3 times 5, which is 15, 3 times minus 2, minus 6, equals to 6 minus 15, 8 minus 6, and this is minus 9, 14. Question 7. The diagram shows a right-angled triangle and a quarter circle. The right-angled triangle ABC has angle ABC 90 degrees. The quarter circle has center C and radius CB. Work out the area of the quarter circle. Give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. You must show all your working. Let's start by writing out the formula for the area of a circle, pi r squared. Then area of a quarter circle is quarter of this, quarter pi r squared. We don't know r, but we have a right-angled triangle with 2 sides given, so we can use Pythagoras Theorem to work out the missing side. A squared equals b squared plus c squared. Hypotenuse squared equals to the sum of the 2 shorter sides squared. 9 squared is equal to 6 squared plus r squared. Subtracting 6 squared from both sides will give us r squared equals 9 squared minus 6 squared equals 45. R is square root of 45 or 3 root 5. Replacing r in the area of the quarter circle is a quarter times pi times square root of 45 squared equals a quarter pi times 45, which is 35.3429 and so on. And we need to write this to 3 significant figures. This is 35.3. Question 8. Tariq buys a laptop. He gets a discount of 5% off the normal price. Tariq pays £551 for the laptop. Work out the normal price of the laptop. A discount of 5% means a reduction of 5%. This represents 95% of the original amount. Let's write this out as a ratio. 551 represents 95%. And the original amount, let's represent this by x, is 100%. To calculate x, I'm going to use my favorite method, the cross multiplication method, where we multiply across 551 by 100 and divide by 95. This is equal to 580. Part B. Joanne invests £6,000 in a savings account. The savings account pays compound interest at the rate of 2.4% for the first year and 1.7% for each extra year. Work out the value of Joan's investment at the end of 3 years. At the end of the first year, the account will have £6,000 times 1.024. Because an interest rate of 2.4% represents an increase by 2.4%. This is 102.4%. Written as a decimal is 1.024. This is also called a multiplier. This is what we multiply the original amount by. So at the end of the first year, the account will have £6,144. At the end of the second year, we use the amount that has been accumulated, 6,144, because we are using compound interest, times by the multiplier 1.017, because an interest rate of 1.7% means an increase by 1.7%, and this is 101.7%, converted to a decimal is 1.017. This is equal to 6,248.448. We must use the exact number. Make sure you never round the middle answer. If you use the answer button on your calculator, it will make your calculations much quicker. At the end of the third year, the account will have 6,248.448 times 1.017 equals 6,354.671616. Or with less steps, because the second and third year has the same compound interest rate, we can use the compound interest formula. 6,144 times 1.017 to the power of 2. 6,144 represents the starting amount at the beginning of the period, 1.017 represents the multiplier, and the power represents the number of periods. In this case, 2 years. The final answer is 6,354.67. The money is rounded to 2 decimal places. Question 9. Aisha recorded the heights in centimeters of some girls. She used her results to work out the information in this table. Aisha drew this box plot for the information in the table. The box plot is not fully correct. Write down 2 things Aisha should do to make the box plot fully correct. The first section of the box plot represents the minimum, the least height. This is plotted at 142. It is correct. The second part of the box plot represents the lower quartile. This is at 154, also correct. The interquartile range is upper quartile minus lower quartile. Replacing the values, interquartile range is 17. We don't know the upper quartile, and the lower quartile is 154. To solve this, we add 154 to both sides. 17 plus 154 is the upper quartile. 171 is the upper quartile. The fourth section of the box plot represents the upper quartile. This is drawn at 172. It should be at 171. So this is wrong. So the first thing that Aisha should do to make the box plot fully correct is plot the upper quartile at 171, not at 172. The third section of the box plot represents the median. The median is 162, but it is drawn at 161. This is wrong. So the second thing that Aisha should do to make the box plot fully correct is plot the median at 162, not at 161. And finally, we can double check the range as well, highest minus lowest. The highest value is the last section of the box plot. This is drawn at 182, minus the lowest is 142. This is equal to 40, which matches the information from the table. So the range is correct. Question 10. Simplify 1 over m squared to the power of 0. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. Part B. Simplify 8 times x minus 4 over x minus 4 squared. We can cancel out x minus 4. This is equal to 8 over x minus 4. If it helps you to understand this better, we can also write this out. 8 times x minus 4 over x minus 4 times x minus 4. We can see how one bracket cancels out the other bracket. Part C. Simplify 3n to the power of 4 w squared to the power of 3. Removing the brackets results in 3 cubed n to the power of 4 times 3 times w to the power of 2 times 3. When we remove the brackets, we multiply the powers. Then, simplifying this further will give us the final answer. 27 n to the power of 12 w to the power of 6. Question 11. Jack is in a restaurant. There are 5 starters, 8 main courses, and some desserts on the menu. Jack is going to choose 1 starter, 1 main course, and 1 dessert. He says there are 240 ways that he can choose his starter, his main course, and his dessert. Could Jack be correct? You must show how you get your answer. We have a choice for a starter, for a main, and for a dessert. There are 5 starters on the menu. So there are 5 ways we can choose a starter. We times this by 8 ways to choose a main, and we don't know how many desserts there are, so we times it by x. This has to be equal to 240. Writing this out as an equation, we have 5 times 8 times x equals 240. That is, 40x is equal to 240. X is 6. As a conclusion, yes, Jack could be correct if there are 6 desserts on the menu. Question 12. The graph gives information about the volume, V liters, of petrol in the tank of Jim's car after it has traveled a distance of d kilometers. Find the gradient of the graph. The gradient is given by the change in y over the change in x direction. The y-axis represents the volume and the x-axis represents the distance. To read off the gradient, we pick 2 coordinate points from this line, 118 and another one, 0, 27. The line is going downwards, so we will have a negative gradient. The change in the y direction is -9 and the change in the x direction is 100. The gradient is -9 over 100, or, as a decimal, -0.09. Part B. Interpret what the gradient of the graph represents. Gradient represents rate of change. So the gradient of this graph represents the rate of fuel consumption. For each 100 kilometers, 9 liters of fuel is consumed. Question 13. Work out the length of AB. Give your answer correct to 1 decimal place. We have a triangle with some sides and angles involved, but it's not a right angle triangle. In these type of scenarios, we have to decide whether we can use the sine rule or the cosine rule. In our case, if we work out the third angle, we have a matching pair, angle with the opposite side and another angle with the opposite side. So we can use the sine rule. A over sine A equals B over sine B. Sum of angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. Angle CAB is 180 minus 34 plus 26 equals 120. Applying the sine rule, the side AB over sine 34 equals 23.8 over sine 120. Multiplying both sides by sine 34, the side AB equals 23.8 over sine 120 times sine 34 equals 15.367668 and so on. Rounding to one decimal place is 15.4 centimeters. Question 14. Here are two squares A and B. The length of each side of square B is 4 cm greater than the length of each side of square A. Let's label the side of square A as x. If the side of B is 4 cm greater, this can be written as x plus 4. The area of square B is 70 cm squared greater than the area of square A. Looking at the diagram, the area of A is x squared, and the area of B is 70 centimeters squared greater than A. So the area can be written as x squared plus 70. And looking at the diagram of B, we have labeled the side as x plus 4. So the area of B can also be written as x plus 4 squared. Find the area of square B. Give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. You must show or you're working. To proceed, we need to expand the brackets of x plus 4 squared and simplify it. X plus 4 squared is x plus 4 times x plus 4 equals x times x is x squared, x times 4 is 4x, 4 times x is 4x, 4 times 4 is 16. This simplifies to x squared plus 8x plus 16. The area of B was given in two different ways, as x squared plus 70 and x plus 4 squared. Therefore, x squared plus 70 equals x squared plus 8x plus 16. If we subtract x squared from both sides, the x squared will disappear. 70 equals 8x plus 16. Subtracting 16 from both sides results in 54 equals 8x. Divide by 8, 6.75 equals x. Now that we know x, we can work out the area of B either by using x squared plus 70 or x plus 4 squared. I'm going to use the first one. Area of B is x squared plus 70. Replacing x, we have 6.75 squared plus 70. Typing this into the calculator, we have 115.5625. equals 116 to 3 significant figures. Question 15. Describe fully the single transformation that maps triangle A onto triangle B. It has to be a single transformation. One shape is larger than the other one, so it's an enlargement. Joining two pairs of corresponding corners, we find the center of enlargement, 1, 1. The shapes are facing opposite ways, so it's going to be a negative scale factor. Picking two corresponding sides, the length of side A is 2, and we need to times this by a scale factor to make it equal to 3. Let's call the scale factor x. 2x is equal to 3, x is 3 over 2. This is equal to 1.5, but they are facing the opposite way, so it's going to be a negative scale factor. So the scale factor is minus 1.5. Question 16. Here are the first 5 terms of a quadratic sequence. Find an expression in terms of n for the nth term of this sequence. We calculate the first set of differences. 10 plus 11 is equal to 21, plus 17 is 38, plus 23 is 61, plus 29 is 90. Then we calculate the second set of differences. 11 plus 6 is 17, plus 6 is 23, plus 6 is 29. If the second difference is 6, the nth term contains 3n squared. Notice that half of 6 is 3. Because the original sequence contains 3n squared, we're going to subtract this and see what the leftover is. Listing out the original sequence, we have 10, 21, 38, 61, 90. Listing out 3n squared, the term 1 is equal to 3 times 1 squared equals 3. Term 2 is 3 times 2 squared equals 12. Term 3 is 3 times 3 squared equals 27. The fourth term is 3 times 4 squared equals 48. And the fifth term is 3 times 5 squared equals 75. To work out the leftover, we do original minus 3n squared. 10 minus 3 is 7, 21 minus 12 is 9, 38 minus 27 is 11, 61 minus 48 is 13, 90 minus 75 is 15. The leftover sequence is a linear sequence. To get from 7 to 9, we add 2, 9 plus 2 is 11, 11 plus 2 is 13, 13 plus 2 is 15. Because the first difference is the same, it is a linear sequence containing 2n. The reason is 2n is because repeated addition of 2 is the 2 times table. So the leftover sequence will be 2n plus something. To find out what that something is, we pick a random term. I'm gonna choose the first term because that's the easiest. Term 1 equals 2 times 1 plus something has to be equal to 7. That missing number has to be a 5 because 2 plus 5 is equal to 7. So the leftover sequence is 2n plus 5. The original sequence is a combination of 3n squared and the leftover. So the nth term of the original sequence is 3n squared plus 2n plus 5. Question 17. Write down the coordinates of the turning point on the graph of y equals x plus 12 squared minus 7. The y-coordinate of the turning point is whatever is outside the bracket. It's minus 7. The x-coordinate of the turning point is minus 12. It is the opposite of what's inside the bracket, whereas y stays the same. Question 18. The diagram represents a solid cone. The cone has a base diameter of 20 centimeters and a slant height of 25 centimeters. A circle is drawn around the surface of the cone at a slant height of 10 centimeters above the base. The curved surface of the cone above the circle is painted gray. Work out the area of the curved surface of the cone that is not painted gray. Give your answer as a multiple of pi. You must show all your working. Using the formula given, the curved surface area of the large cone is pi times the radius times the length. The length is the slant height. Replacing r and l, this is equal to pi times 10 times 25 equals 250 pi centimeters squared. The curved surface area of the shaded cone is pi times r times l. We know the l, the slant height of the painted cone, this is 15, but we don't know the radius yet, but we can work it out using similar triangles. The height of the cones with the base form a right angle, so we will have two similar right angle triangles. The hypotenuse of the small one will be 15, and the hypotenuse of the large one will be 25. The sides of the triangles are proportional to each other, so r shaded over 10 is equal to 15 over 25. The radius is 15 over 25 times 10, which is equal to 6. Replacing this into the curved surface area formula, we have pi times 6 times 15 equals 90 pi centimeters squared. Now we have enough information to work out the curved surface area of the not shaded shape. That is, curved surface area of the large cone minus the curved surface area of the shaded cone equals 250 pi minus 90 pi equals 160 pi centimeters squared. Question 19. A hot air balloon is descending. The height of the balloon n meters after it starts to descend is hn meters. The height of the balloon n plus 1 minutes after it starts to descend, hn plus 1 meters, is given by hn plus 1 equals k times hn plus 20, where k is a constant. The balloon starts to descend from a height of 1,200 meters at 9:15. At 9:16, the height of the balloon is 1,040 meters. Work out the height of the balloon at 9:18. At 9:15, h0 is 1200. We write h0 because 0 minutes has passed. At 9:16, h1 is 1040. We write h1 because 1 minute has passed. The recurring formula for the height is given by hn plus 1 equals k times hn plus 20. Replacing n by 0, we have h1 equals k times h0 plus 20. The h1 is 1040. This is equal to a constant k times the h0 is 1200 plus 20. Subtracting 20 from both sides gives us 1020 equals 1200k. Dividing by 1200, 0.85 is equal to k. Now that we have the constant k, we have the complete formula. hn plus 1 equals 0.85 hn plus 20. To work out the height of the balloon at 9:18, we need the height at 9:17. At 9:17, 2 minutes have passed, so the height after 2 minutes, h2, is 0.85 h1 plus 20. This is equal to 0.85 times 1040 plus 20 equals 904. At 9:18, the height after 3 minutes, h3, equals 0.85 times the height after 2 minutes plus 20 equals 0.85 times 904 plus 20 equals 788.4. Question 20. There are only red sweets and yellow sweets in a bag. There are n red sweets in the bag. There are 8 yellow sweets in the bag. Sajid is going to take at random a sweet from the bag and eat it. He says that the probability that the sweet will be red is 7 out of 10. Show why the probability cannot be 7 out of 10. The probability of red is n out of the total number of sweets in the bag, which is n plus 8. If the probability of red would be 7 out of 10, then n over n plus 8 equals 7 out of 10. Doing a quick cross multiplication here to jump to the next step. 10n equals 7 times n plus 8. 10n equals 7n plus 56. Subtracting 7n from both sides, 3n equals 56. n equals 56 divided by 3, which is 18.6 recurring. N is not a whole number, so the probability cannot be 7 out of 10. Part B. After Sajid has taken the first sweet from the bag and eaten it, he's going to take at random a second sweet from the bag. Given that the probability that both the sweets he takes will be red is 3 out of 5, work out the number of red sweets in the bag. You must show all your working. The probability of red on the first pick is n out of n over 8. The probability of picking red 2 times in a row without replacement is n over n plus 8 times n minus 1 over n minus 1 plus 8. The first fraction represents the probability when he picks a red on the first pick. The second fraction represents the probability that he picks a red given that he has already picked a red on the first pick. The second time he picks will be 1 less red sweet. That's why we have n minus 1. This is equal to n times n minus 1 over n plus 8 times n plus 7 equals n squared minus n. Multiplying out the bracket, n times n is n squared, n times 7 is 7n, 8 times n is 8n, and 8 times 7 is 56. Simplifying this further, we have n squared minus n over n squared plus 15n plus 56. It is given that this is equal to 3/5. Doing a quick cross multiplication, we have 5 times n squared minus n equals 3 times n squared plus 15n plus 56. 5 times the bracket is 5n squared minus 5n equals 3 times this bracket is 3n squared plus 45n plus 168. Subtracting 3n squared from both sides is 2n squared minus 5n equals 45n plus 168. Subtracting 45n, 2n squared minus 50n equals 168. Subtracting 168, we have 2n squared minus 50n minus 168 equals 0. To make it simpler to solve this quadratic equation, we can divide across by 2. n squared minus 25n minus 84 equals 0. We can solve this using the quadratic formula. X equals minus b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. But instead of x, we have n. Let's write out the coefficients of this equation. A is equal to 1, b is minus 25, c is minus 84. Replacing a, b, c in the quadratic formula, we have the following. Calculating the square root gives us 31. N equals 25 plus minus 31 over 2. 25 minus 31 would give us a negative value. But we cannot have negative number of sweets. So the positive value of n is 25 plus 31 divided by 2 equals 28 red sweets. Question 21. The graph of the curve with equation y equals fx is shown on the grid below. On the grid above, sketch the graph of the curve with equation y equals f minus x. Notice we have minus x inside a bracket. This means that each x value in every single coordinate point will change to the opposite sign. This will be a reflection in the y-axis. Let's look at the key individual points in the fx graph. 0, 0 will stay as 0, 0. Minus 1, 2 will be at 1, 2. Notice the x value was minus 1 and now it's a 1. Minus 3, 0 will become 3, 0. And the coordinate point minus 4, 2 becomes 4, 2. Part B. The curve C with equation y equals 5 plus 2x minus x squared is transformed by a translation to give the curve S such that the point 1, 6 on C is mapped to the point 4, 6 on S. Find an equation for S. The graph C has the coordinate point 1, 6. The graph S has a corresponding coordinate point 4, 6. The y values stay the same, but the x values increased by 3. If C is fx, then S is fx minus 3, because whatever we do to the x coordinate, within the bracket will show up its inverse. So the equation of S is y equals 5 plus 2 times x minus 3 minus x minus 3 squared. What we've done here, we replaced every single x by x minus 3. And the last question, question 22. C is a circle with center, the origin. A tangent to C passes through the points minus 20, 0 and 0, 10. Work out an equation of C. You must show all your working. The formula of the equation of a circle with center, the origin, is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So the aim of this question is to work out the length of the radius squared. Let's start by working out the gradient of the tangent. The formula for the gradient, m, is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Replacing the values from the given coordinate points, this is equal to 10 minus 0 over 0 minus 20, and this is equal to half. The perpendicular gradient is minus 2 because the negative reciprocal of half is minus 2. This is the gradient of the radius that meets the tangent. The equation of line AB, the tangent, can be worked out by using the formula for an equation of a line y equals mx plus c. At point 0, 10, y is equal to 10, so 10 is equal to m is half times x is 0 plus c. Simplifying it, 10 is c. This is the y-intercept. Substituting the gradient and the y-intercept gives us the equation of the tangent. Y equals half x plus 10. The equation of line OC, the radius, can be worked out by using the coordinate point at 0, 0. By replacing the values in y equals mx plus c, we have 0 equals minus 2 times 0 plus c. The y-intercept is 0 and the gradient is minus 2. So the equation of this line is y equals minus 2x. If you're confident, you can skip the steps where we worked out the y-intercept, because in this case, the y-intercept can also be read off from the graph. Or knowing that the y-intercept is equal to the y value when x is equal to 0 and just replace it in the equation of line y equals mx plus c. To work at the coordinate point where the tangent meets the radius, we can use simultaneous equations. Both of the equations have y the subject of the formula, so we can just make them equal to each other. So at point C, equation 1 is equal to equation 2, half x plus 10 equals minus 2x. Add 2x to both sides, becomes 2.5x plus 10 equals 0. Subtract 10, 2.5x is equal to minus 10, and divide by 2.5, x is minus 4. Now that we have the x, we can work at y. The y is minus 2x, replacing x is minus 2 times minus 4, and this is equal to 8. So now we have a point on the circumference, the coordinate point of point C, minus 4, 8. If we replace this point in the equation of circle at center 0, 0, we are able to work out radius squared, and hence the equation of this circle. X squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. Replacing x and y gives us minus 4 squared plus 8 squared equals 16 plus 64 equals 80. This is r squared. Now we can write out the final solution. The equation of circle C is x squared plus y squared equals 80.